Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at some really fascinating source material. Excerpts from a book, actually.
That's right. And it digs into this powerful link between courage, the everyday kind, and building self-confidence.
And not just confidence, but how it fuels passion, strengthens connections. It's all tied together.
Absolutely. So we've got these pages, and our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights. How is confidence actually built?
Right, not just how we think it is.
And there are some surprising connections the author makes that we want to explore.
Yeah, and, the material jumps right in with something,
Yeah.
Something that challenges a common idea.
Totally. It tackles this big misconception about confidence straight away.
Which is?
That it's just personality, like, oh, he's an extrovert, so he's confident. Or she's quiet, so she must lack confidence.
Right, that sort of fixed trait idea.
Exactly. The source argues that's a huge mistake.
So how does the source define it then, if not personality?
It's simpler, really. It's about believing in yourself, your ideas, your capabilities.
Okay, so it's a belief.
And crucially, it's presented as a skill, something anyone can learn, not just something you're born with or without.
That's a pretty hopeful perspective.
It is. And the book uses some good examples to sort of flesh this out.
Like what?
Well, think about that really loud, maybe even bossy person you know.
Uh-huh. Seems confident.
Seems, yeah. But they could actually be deeply insecure underneath, using the volume as like a shield.
Okay, I can see that.
Or flip side, the quiet introvert. They might have total confidence in their idea. They know it's good, but they lack the courage to speak up.
Ah, so the confidence in the idea is there.
Right. The source makes that distinction really clear. It's not a lack of confidence in the what, but a lack of courage in the doing.
That's a key difference. Believing versus acting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that leads right into the core mechanism the book proposes for actually building confidence.
Which isn't about trying to magically feel more confident first.
No, not at all. You build it through action, specifically through acts of everyday courage.
Acts of everyday courage. Okay, I like that phrase. It feels doable.
It's meant to be. And the practical tool the source offers to actually perform those acts.
The 5-second rule?
The 5-second rule, that simple countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you move, you speak, you act.
Before your brain talks you out of it.
Exactly. And there's this fantastic story in the material that really shows it in action about an engineer at Cisco.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
So the author had given homework at a talk. Use the 5-second rule. Introduce yourself to 3 strangers.
Okay. Simple enough assignment.
Seems simple,
Yeah.
but the author breaks down what happens in that push moment. You get an instinct, right? An urge to connect, to speak up.
Yeah, that little nudge inside.
But almost instantly, boom, your brain throws up excuses.
Oh, I know this feeling. They look busy.
They're talking. He's checking his phone. Now's not the right time.
Right. All the reasons not to do it.
And the source is really clear. These often aren't even true. It's just your brain trying to keep you safe, comfortable, trying to derail the action.
Okay, so back to the engineer. He's at this Cisco event.
Fresh from the talk, homework in mind, and he gets a massive push moment. Who walks down the hallway?
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Someone important.
Only John Chambers, the CEO, a legend, retiring the next day with a group of senior leaders.
Wow. Okay. Big moment.
Huge. And the engineer's instinct is screaming, go, introduce yourself, thank him, say you're proud to work there.
He knew he should.
Knew it, wanted to, but just froze.
Oh, paralyzed.
Completely. He described feeling paralyzed. And what was his immediate thought? His explanation to himself.
Let me guess. I'm an introvert.
Bingo. I'm an introvert. This sort of thing doesn't come naturally to me. That old way of
conception, and the moment passed.
Poof. Gone. Chambers walked by. Engineers left with that awful feeling of regret.
We've all felt that, haven't we? Missing a chance because of fear.
Absolutely. But wait, the story gets better. Next morning, he's out for a run, jogging near San Diego Bay. And who does he see up ahead on the path, jogging alone?
No way. Chambers again.
John Chambers. Alone.
Okay, universe giving him a second shot here.
You'd think, but what happens first?
Hesitation. Again.
Instantly, I'd be interrupting his private time. It would be rude. The excuses start flooding back.
But this time.
This time he catches himself. He literally says he caught myself hesitating and started counting down 5, 4, 3.
He used the rule.
He used the rule, pushed himself physically, sped up his jog, tapped Chambers on the shoulder.
Gutsy move.
Totally. Apologized for interrupting, then just explain, I've wanted to thank you for a long time.
And how did Chambers react?
They stopped jogging, started walking together through the park, talked about work, life. The engineer even pitched a project idea.
Seriously.
Yeah, and Chambers was, quote, delightful and engaging. Thanked the engineer back, gave him contact info for someone senior in innovation,
Wow.
and told him, use my name, share your idea.
That's incredible. What an outcome.
And the feeling the engineer described later. The source says he was just beaming bright enough to light up the room, called it the highlight of my career.
I bet. That's a life moment.
And get this, he added, almost as an aside. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. I'm now interviewing for a job with the man Chambers introduced me to.
Okay, so the rule literally led to a job interview with a top exec. That's pretty compelling.
It is. But, and this is crucial, the author stresses that the job interview isn't really the main point of the story for understanding confidence.
Right. It's not just about the external reward.
Exactly. It's an illustration of how that act of everyday courage, pushing past the fear, using the rule, builds something inside.
It builds the confidence itself.
Yes. The author points out that this single experience, this one act, could potentially change the whole trajectory of what's possible for his life, if he keeps doing it.
Because it proved something to himself.
It proved he could count on himself. That feeling wasn't just about meeting the CEO. It was, and I quote, how darn good it feels when you honor your own desires and take control of your life.
That self-trust. The radiance of knowing he could count on himself.
That's the core of it. Confidence, the source says, is created by the small things you do every single day that build that trust in yourself.
Okay, so it really emphasizes the everyday part, the small things.
Massively. And there's another story from a guy named Bill. Really drives this home.
Tell me about Bill.
Well, on the surface, Bill looks like he has it all figured out. Married, 4 kids, successful career, even president of his professional association. He jokes, great life, huh?
Sounds pretty good.
But inside, he feels disconnected, especially from himself. He admits he's not living with conviction.
What does that look like for him?
It looks like constantly hesitating, overthinking, then never doing or saying what I should be doing or saying. He feels he's lost somehow the ability to make a real connection with people.
And the source connects that to losing connection with himself.
Spot on. When you lose touch with the real you, the book argues, you feel adrift. You lose confidence. Life loses its flavor of congruency. You don't feel aligned.
So how's Bill using the rule? Not chasing CEOs, I assume.
No, he's using it for what the source calls the journey of 1,000 steps. Small, everyday things.
Like what kind of things?
Things that quietly teach him to trust himself again, like pushing himself to make tough decisions instead of waffling, or being able to say no when he really doesn't have the bandwidth or desire.
Saying no can be surprisingly hard.
It really can be an act of courage, or even just getting out of bed and taking the dogs out when every fiber of his being wants to hit snooze simply because he told himself he would.
Honoring those tiny commitments to yourself.
Exactly. And the source calls these little steps the most exhilarating moves for your confidence. Seems counterintuitive, but that's the claim.
Okay. And there was another story. Trace.
Yes, Trace. A 48-year-old stay-at-home mom, felt totally stuck in a rut, said finding the rule was like a light had been turned on.
What did she use it for?
Again, everyday stuff. Things she wouldn't have done otherwise, like getting up and dancing by herself at a concert, even feeling awkward.
Brave.
Posting a photo of herself online. She hated pictures of herself. Speaking up in front of her church congregation.
Things that take vulnerability.
Totally. Even just finally talking to her husband about something that was bothering her instead of letting it fester, introducing herself to people, getting more done around the house she'd been putting off.
Relatable stuff.
Very. And she said, this is a direct quote, most of the applications were small in the big scheme of things, but the feeling and uplift they gave me is huge.
That feeling again, the internal shift from small external actions.
Precisely. And now she's starting to apply it to bigger things. Weight loss goals, attending a high school reunion she was dreading. She even used the rule to write her story for the book.
That's great. So she feels she's moving forward.
Yeah, she feels she's beginning to get unstuck and climb out of my rut.
So, Bill and Trace. Their stories really underline this idea.
They really do. The source drives it home. Small things are not small at all. They are the most important things of all, and they add up.
So pushing yourself with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on getting out of bed, that is building confidence for bigger things down the line.
That's the argument. Getting up on time, speaking at church, chasing a CEO. It's all everyday courage. It all builds that muscle.
Which brings us back to the engineer's first reaction, right? Blaming his personality. I'm an introvert.
That automatic excuse.
But the source really pushes back on that.
It does. It asks, basically, what if personality isn't as fixed as we think? What if nothing comes naturally until you practice it?
Implying you could change how you act, even if it feels unnatural at first.
Exactly, through action. And it brings in Professor Brian Little's work here. He's a psychologist, Cambridge, gave a TED Talk.
Okay, what's his concept?
He talks about personal projects. He says, what really defines us isn't just fixed traits, it's the doings, the things we pursue.
Our goals, our passions.
Sort of. And he suggests that while some traits might be pretty stable, many are free traits. We can actually adjust them, flex them, to help us achieve a core project, something really important to us.
Interesting, like acting differently to achieve a goal.
Yes. Little uses himself as an example. He identifies as an introvert, right? But his core project is teaching, being a professor.
So he has to be outgoing in the classroom.
He has to act out of character, and he does it through deliberate and purposeful action. He pushes himself because the teaching matters deeply to him.
Okay, I see the parallel. Like the engineer.
Just like the engineer. His core project in that moment was thanking Chambers. That desire was strong enough to make him act out of character with the help of the rule as the tool for that deliberate push.
So both involved a meaningful goal and then taking deliberate action, even when it felt uncomfortable or unnatural.
Precisely. It might feel harder for someone who sees themselves as introverted to approach a CEO, sure. The source acknowledges that feeling.
But the takeaway isn't about changing your core personality.
No. It's that confidence isn't determined by that personality label. We're all capable of acting out of character when something important is on the line, improving our lives, feeling more alive, pursuing fulfillment.
And the way to do that, according to this source,
Assert yourself. Practice those acts of everyday courage. Use the 5-second rule.
and these acts, they might not feel like earthquakes.
Right. They may not seem earth-shattering, as the source puts it, but they will shatter self-doubt over time.
I like that. Shatter self-doubt.
And it ends that thought with this really empowering message, that there's so much greatness inside each and every single one of us, and the rule helps you see how freaking incredible we all are.
So it all loops back to this cycle. Courage builds confidence.
That's the engine. The more you practice courage using the rule to get started, the more you believe you're in control, and that belief fuels confidence.
The book offers more examples of this cycle.
Yeah, quick ones. Michelle used the rule to quit a toxic, anxiety-ridden job. Super scary, right? Scared of the unknown.
Definitely an act of courage.
And immediately she felt more confident in myself and capabilities just from that one act.
Wow. Instant feedback.
Then there's Jay, high school kid, used the rule to audition more, got more parts. Result? A lot of self-confidence.
Practice makes perfect. Or at least more confident.
And Stacy uses it almost daily. Courage to make sales calls, do home shows for her business, talk face-to-face instead of hiding behind email.
Pushing those comfort zone boundaries regularly.
And she says she's grown in ways I never thought possible. Feels amazing.
It seems so consistent. Doing the scary thing makes you less scared, more confident.
It proves you can rely on yourself. Every time you push, speak up nervous, act when afraid, drag yourself to the gym, you build that internal track record. Confidence just flows from that.
And it really hammers home, again, the small steps.
Yes. It acknowledges it might seem weird, almost implausible, that just waking up on time using the rule builds confidence for, say, quitting your job.
It does seem like a big leap.
But the source insists that is exactly how it works. Stop waiting for the big, dramatic moments. Use the rule on the tiniest hesitations.
Because those moments aren't actually small.
These moments are actually not so small. That's the message.
Going back to Bill, those daily actions, getting up, making decisions, saying no, they ripple outwards.
Big time. They might feel small individually, but the cumulative effect, the source argues, leads to huge payoffs. Confidence, control, and a sense of pride that feels damn good.
So if we zoom out now, looking back at this whole deep dive, what's the big takeaway?
I think it's fundamentally shifting how you view confidence. It's not this mysterious trait, it's not personality, it's a skill.
A skill built brick by brick.
Through acts of everyday courage, consistent action, even when it's uncomfortable.
And the 5-second rule is just that. That practical switch to flip yourself into action mode.
Exactly. It's the tool to bridge the gap between intention and action, especially on those small things, getting up, speaking up, reaching out,
And those small things build self-trust.
which is the bedrock. That trust in yourself, built moment by moment, leads to that ripple effect. More confidence, more control, and yeah, that feeling of pride, knowing you showed up for yourself.
You know, there's a line near the end of this material that really stuck with me. It feels like a perfect encapsulation of this whole idea.
What's that?
Speak from your heart, even if your voice shakes.
Ooh, yeah, that's powerful. It's right at that intersection of vulnerability and courage.
It really does.
Yeah.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is, think about that. What might actually become possible for you if you started embracing those moments where your voice shakes, but you choose to speak or act anyway?
What really stands out to you most from everything we've unpacked today? Something to chew on.